Welcome back to the channel, everyone. If you love captivating stories about men transforming into women in unique and fascinating ways, then be sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up. Now, let's jump right into today's tale.
Jack Harrison never believed in magic. As a pragmatic software engineer, he lived by logic and code, until the day he accidentally activated the ancient artifact he'd bought as a gag gift for his buddy's bachelor party. "What the hell does this inscription even say?" Jack muttered, turning the jade amulet over in his hands. The thing had cost him $12 at that sketchy antique shop on 4th Street, the one sandwiched between a vape shop and a place that claimed to sell authentic designer handbags. The elderly shopkeeper had insisted it was very special, with the kind of theatrical reverence that screamed tourist trap. Jack squinted at the strange symbols etched into the stone's surface. "He who speaks the words shall know the other side," or some fortune cookie nonsense. He snorted. "Mike's going to love this. Nothing says congrats on the ball and chain like mystical gibberish." The amulet warmed in his palm as he absent-mindedly recited the strange syllables written beneath the symbols, something that sounded vaguely Latin mixed with what might have been ancient Chinese, if ancient Chinese were written by someone having a stroke. "Probably just says, 'Made in Taiwan,'" he chuckled to himself. A tingling sensation spread from his fingertips through his entire body, like static electricity with an agenda and a very specific destination in mind. "What the—" Jack's voice caught in his throat as the tingling intensified, spreading like wildfire through his nervous system. It wasn't painful, exactly, more like every cell in his body had suddenly decided to rearrange the furniture without consulting him first. His skin felt like it was made of liquid mercury, shifting and reforming. He could feel it happening, really feel it, his skeletal structure compressing in some places, expanding in others, like some cosmic sculptor was using his body as modeling clay. His center of gravity changed so suddenly, he stumbled backward onto his couch, arms windmilling. "Oh shit, oh shit. Oh," Jack grabbed the couch cushions as his hands shifted before his eyes. The transformation was impossible to look away from, like watching a car crash in slow motion, except the car was his body and it was crashing into an entirely different gender. His hands grew smaller, the rough calluses from weekend rock climbing smoothing away. His fingers elongated slightly, becoming more slender, more delicate. The veins that had always stood out prominently on the back of his hands seemed to sink beneath skin that was becoming noticeably softer, smoother. Even his nails changed, the bitten-down stubs he'd maintained since high school extending into neat, rounded shapes. "This isn't real. This is not real. I'm having a stroke. That's it. I'm having a massive stroke at age 28 because I ate too much pizza last night." Jack's voice was already changing, climbing up the register like it was trying to escape from his throat entirely. The transformation progressed with merciless efficiency, working its way up his arms. His forearms thinned, the muscles he'd built from countless hours of typing and the occasional gym session. Mostly typing, redistributing themselves into a more streamlined, less angular configuration. The hair on his arms lightened and thinned to almost nothing, leaving smooth skin that seemed to glow in the afternoon light streaming through his apartment window. His shoulders began to narrow, the broad structure that had made buying off the rack suits a nightmare compressing inward. He could feel his clavicles shifting, hear things popping and rearranging that definitely shouldn't pop and rearrange. It felt like someone was physically pushing his shoulders closer together, and he found himself instinctively hunching forward as the sensation intensified. "Stop, stop, stop," he gasped, but his body had other plans. His chest felt strange, tight at first, like someone had wrapped bands around his ribcage and was slowly tightening them. His pectoral muscles, never particularly impressive but definitely there, began to soften and redistribute. Then came the pressure, a fullness that started small and began to grow. He watched in absolute horror as his chest began to swell, pushing out against his t-shirt. "No, no, no, this can't be happening." His voice was definitely higher now, losing the masculine timbre he'd had since puberty. It cracked embarrassingly on the word happening. The weight on his chest increased steadily, growing heavier by the second. He could feel the mass of breast tissue forming, filling out, the sensitivity making him acutely aware of every fiber of his cotton t-shirt. The sensation was completely foreign, feeling weight and pressure from the front of his chest rather than the muscular solidity he was used to. His nipples, which he'd never given much thought to beyond occasional itching, became hypersensitive as they shifted and enlarged, pressing uncomfortably against his shirt. Oh God, oh God. He looked down and immediately regretted it. 2 very definite swells pushed out his shirt, and they were still growing. His hands flew up instinctively to, he didn't even know what. Stop them, support them, confirm they were actually there. They were there, and very real. His waist was cinching in now, his comfortable layer of software engineer who meant to go to the gym more pudge redistributing. He could feel his ribcage shifting, pulling in to create a more defined curve. His stomach flattened, then developed a slight feminine softness that was entirely different from his previous build. Then his hips began to widen, and that was when Jack really started to panic. The sensation was indescribable, his pelvis literally spreading, bones shifting and rotating. His hip joints felt like they were coming apart and reassembling, creating a wider, more rounded structure. It wasn't painful, but it was deeply, profoundly wrong in a way that made his brain short-circuit. This was his skeleton changing, his actual bones. This is insane, this is completely insane. His voice was fully feminine now, the words coming out in a pitch he'd never produced in his entire life. His thighs thickened slightly, redistributing muscle and adding a softness that was distinctly feminine. He could feel his legs reshaping, the muscle definition he'd maintained, barely, from hiking trips smoothing into more curved, more rounded contours. His calves reshaped, becoming more delicate, more tapered. His jeans were becoming uncomfortably tight in some areas and loose in others, the men's cut no longer matching his new proportions at all. The waistband dug into his newly narrowed waist while gaping at what had been his hips but were now different hips, very different hips. And then came the most disturbing change of all. The tingling between his legs intensified to a sensation that made him gasp. He could feel everything down there shifting, reconfiguring, inverting. The pressure, the strange pulling sensation, the absolute wrongness of feeling external parts becoming internal, it was overwhelming. His entire groin was restructuring itself, and there was nothing he could do but sit there and feel it happen. Please stop, please, but it didn't stop. The transformation was thorough, complete, merciless. Everything that had defined him as male disappeared, replaced by anatomy that was unmistakably female. The sensation of it was almost too much to process, feeling things that should be there suddenly not there, and feeling new internal structures that absolutely should not exist in his body but very definitely did. Jack squeezed his eyes shut, breathing hard, trying not to think about what had just happened below the belt. This was impossible. This was absolutely impossible. His face was changing too, he could feel it. His jaw narrowed, becoming more delicate, more refined. His nose reshaped slightly, less prominent. His cheekbones rose higher, more pronounced. His lips felt fuller, more cushioned. Even his Adam's apple, which had always bobbed prominently when he swallowed, melted away into a smooth throat. The stubble he'd been cultivating, because he was too lazy to shave that morning, disappeared entirely, his skin becoming impossibly smooth. He ran a hand over his jaw, smaller hand, smooth jaw, and felt nothing but silky skin. Then his scalp began to tingle intensely, like 1,000 tiny needles of sensation all firing at once. His short, practical brown hair, the same cut he'd been getting at Supercuts for 5 years, began to lengthen. He could actually feel it growing, sliding over his shoulders, down his back, tickling his newly sensitive neck. The color shifted as it grew, lightening from his mousy brown to a rich, vibrant auburn that caught the light like polished copper. It cascaded past his shoulders in waves, thick and full, and completely unlike the thin, straight hair he'd always had. The sensation of all that hair touching his neck, his shoulders, his back, places where he'd never felt hair before, was almost as disorienting as everything else. When the tingling finally subsided, Jack sat in stunned silence, afraid to look down but unable to resist. His breathing was rapid and shallow, and even that felt different, his chest rising and falling in a way it never had before, with noticeable weight and movement. Where his familiar body had been was now unmistakably female, curved in places he'd been straight, soft where he'd been angular, hollow where he'd been? Well, not hollow. "This is not happening," Jack whispered, then clapped a hand over his mouth at the sound of his new voice, melodic and higher-pitched, with a slightly breathless quality that sounded like it belonged to someone else entirely. Someone who definitely wasn't a 6'1" software engineer named Jack. Except he wasn't 6'1" anymore either. He'd definitely lost height, several inches from the feel of it. He stood up shakily, his center of balance completely thrown off and nearly face-planted into his coffee table. "Whoa, okay. He steadied himself, hands out, and immediately noticed how different standing felt. The width of his hips, the way his legs came together, the weight on his chest pulling forward, the complete absence of, that. He staggered to the bathroom, each step feeling alien. His gait had changed entirely. His hips swayed. They actually swayed. He could feel it with every step, an undulation he'd never experienced before. The bathroom mirror revealed the truth he'd been dreading. A woman stared back at him. Not just any woman. A genuinely attractive woman with his same green eyes, the only feature that seemed remotely familiar. Auburn hair cascaded over her shoulders in thick waves. Heart-shaped face with high cheekbones. Full lips. A body that would have made 28-year-old male Jack do a double-take if he'd passed her on the street. "Oh my God," the woman in the mirror said, and it was his voice, his new voice. "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God." Jack leaned closer to the mirror, examining every detail. The stranger's face moved exactly as he moved. When he touched his face, she touched hers. When he opened his mouth in horror, she did the same. She reached up tentatively to touch her face. The skin was impossibly soft, like silk under her fingertips. No stubble, no roughness, no familiar contours of the face he'd been shaving for over a decade. Her eyes, his eyes, were the same green, but they seemed larger somehow, framed by longer lashes that definitely hadn't been there before. Even her eyebrows had reshaped themselves, arched and defined instead of the caterpillars he'd been sporting since puberty. "Okay, Jack, think. There's got to be a scientific explanation," she said to her reflection, watching the stranger's lips move in perfect synchronization. "Or you're having a psychotic break, or someone slipped something into your coffee, or," she trailed off, knowing none of these explanations made sense. She'd been transformed, completely, utterly, unmistakably transformed into a woman. Her eyes drifted down from her face, and she forced herself to really look at her new body. The t-shirt she'd been wearing, a vintage Star Wars shirt Mike had gotten her for Christmas, was stretched tight across her chest in a way that would have been comical if it weren't so horrifying. The neck hole gaped awkwardly, showing more cleavage than she'd ever seen in her own mirror before. Don't look down, don't, but she looked down. The curves were impossible to ignore. Her chest rose and fell with each breath, the weight shifting in a way that was hypnotically disturbing. She watched, transfixed and mortified, as her new anatomy moved independently with gravity and motion, constrained only by the increasingly uncomfortable cotton t-shirt. "I have boobs," she said aloud to her reflection, as if saying it would make it less insane. "I have actual boobs. This is my life now. I have boobs and—" She couldn't bring herself to say the rest. The woman in the mirror raised an eyebrow, an expression that looked far more sardonic and attractive than when Jack had done it with his old face. "Well, I always did wonder what it would be like," she said with gallows humor, her voice dripping with the kind of hysteria that comes from complete cognitive dissonance. "Though I would have preferred the free trial version, maybe a 3-day demo, not the full subscription with automatic renewal." She turned sideways, examining her profile, and immediately wished she hadn't. The curve of her chest, the dip of her waist, the flare of her hips, it was like looking at a complete stranger's body. Except it was her body now. These were her curves, her hips, her. Nope, not thinking about it, not going there. She turned back to face the mirror head-on. Her jeans were a disaster. The men's straight-leg cut that had fit perfectly this morning now looked ridiculous, simultaneously too tight in the hips and thighs and too loose in the waist, sagging in the back. Her t-shirt had ridden up slightly, revealing a strip of smooth, flat stomach that definitely hadn't been that flat this morning. Jack's phone buzzed from the living room, making her jump. The movement made her intensely aware of how her new body parts moved, independently, with their own momentum and weight. Right, phone, bachelor party, mic. She ran her hands through her hair, so much hair, and immediately got her fingers tangled in the thick waves. This is just perfect. She walked back to the living room, still unsteady in her new body, and grabbed her phone off the couch. Mike's name flashed on the screen. Where are you? Bachelor party starts in an hour. Oh, this is just perfect, Jack muttered, staring at the text. What am I supposed to say? Sorry, can't make it, I've become my own +1. She could already picture Mike's face. Hey man, can't make it tonight, I've been magically transformed into a woman. Yeah, that go over well. She typed and deleted several responses, each more absurd than the last. Sorry, caught a case of the XX chromosomes. Got turned into a chick by a mystical artifact, rain check. Food poisoning felt like a cop-out, but what was the alternative? The truth. The amulet lay on the floor where she'd dropped it, still glowing faintly with that same eerie jade light. Jack picked it up carefully, studying the inscription again with new eyes. The symbols seemed to shimmer slightly, mocking her. To know the other side, she read aloud, her new voice stumbling over the words. Not to be stuck on the other side permanently. There's a pretty significant difference there, you mystical piece of junk. She turned the amulet over, searching for more instructions, a warning label, anything. Where's the in case of emergency clause, the warranty information, the goddamn return policy? Nothing, just smooth jade and glowing symbols that she'd been stupid enough to read out loud. As reality sank in actual reality, not the safe, logical world of code and algorithms she'd been living in, Jack realized she'd need to navigate this new existence until she figured out how to reverse it. She'd need clothes that fit, for starters, and a name, and an explanation for everything. Jackie, she decided with a wry smile, testing the name. It felt weird on her new lips, but it made a certain kind of sense. Might as well keep it simple. Jackie Harrison, though that sounds like a country singer or a romance novelist. She picked up her phone again, thumb hovering over her contacts. Who the hell do you call when you've been magically turned into a woman? Her mom? Hey mom, remember your son? He's your daughter now. No, I'm not transitioning, I'm transformed. There's a difference. That'd give her a heart attack. Mike, he'd probably think she was pranking him, or high, or having a mental breakdown. Her ex-girlfriend Sarah? She'd probably say something like, I always knew you were in touch with your feminine side, and laugh, which would be deserved but unhelpful. Well, Jackie sighed, looking down at her unfamiliar body, at the way her t-shirt stretched across curves that hadn't existed 10 minutes ago, at the hair cascading over her shoulders in waves that probably cost other women hundreds of dollars to achieve at salons. At least now, I'll finally understand why my ex-girlfriends always complained about not having pockets. She patted her jeans and confirmed the terrible truth. The pockets were purely decorative now. Her phone barely fit and created an awkward bulge. And it begins, she muttered. The mysteries of womanhood revealed one indignity at a time. She caught sight of herself in the hallway mirror and stopped, transfixed. The woman looking back was a stranger, but her expressions were familiar. The slight furrow between her eyebrows when she was confused, the way her lips pursed when she was annoyed, the tilt of her head when she was thinking. Same person, completely different package. Okay, Jackie, she said to her reflection, testing out the name again. You're a rational person, a problem solver. This is just a really weird problem with magical origins. That defies all laws of physics and biology, but still a problem. She took a deep breath, watching her chest rise and fall, and immediately regretted the visual confirmation of her new reality. Step 1, don't panic. Too late for that. Step 2, figure out how to reverse this. She glanced at the still glowing amulet. Step 3, maybe invest in a sports bra because this bouncing thing is going to get old really fast. Her phone buzzed again. Mike, dude, you better not be bailing. Sarah just texted me that she might stop by to drop off the gift. I thought you said you were over her. Jackie's eyes widened. Sarah, her ex-girlfriend Sarah, who was apparently going to be at the bachelor party, where Jack was supposed to be, except Jack wasn't exactly available at the moment, being temporarily, please let it be temporarily, female. Oh, this just keeps getting better, Jackie muttered, typing a quick response with fingers that were still getting used to their new size and shape. Might be a little late. Work thing came up. The lie felt hollow, but the truth was impossible. She looked down at her body again, at the undeniable reality of her transformation, and felt a hysterical laugh building in her throat. Work thing, she said to the empty apartment. Yeah, that's one way to describe being magically transformed into a woman by a $12 gag gift, a real work thing. The amulet pulsed gently in her hand, warm and insistent, as if reminding her that her new reality was just beginning. Jackie set it down on the coffee table and stared at it. We're going to have words, you and I, she told the inanimate object. Very strong words about user interfaces and informed consent. The amulet glowed cheerfully, utterly unconcerned with her distress. Fantastic, Jackie sighed, running her hands through her hair again and trying not to think about how soft it felt, how different everything felt. Just fantastic. 6 months later. Jackie Harrison, formerly Jack, currently still adjusting, stood in line at the same sketchy antique shop on 4th Street, arms crossed, foot tapping impatiently. The elderly shopkeeper was helping another customer, taking his sweet time explaining the ancient origins of what was clearly a knockoff fertility statue. And this piece, the old man said with theatrical reverence, dates back to the Ming Dynasty. It says made in China on the bottom, Jackie interrupted, her patience exhausted. In English, with a barcode. The customer shot her a dirty look and left. The shopkeeper turned to Jackie with a serene smile that made her want to punch something. Ah, Miss Harrison, back again I see. It's been 6 months, Jackie said flatly. 6 months, you said the reversal would be simple. You said I just needed to understand the amulet's true nature. She made aggressive air quotes. I've understood it from every possible angle. I've studied it, I've meditated with it. I've tried speaking the words backward, forward, and in pig Latin. Nothing works. Have you tried? Yes, whatever you're about to suggest, yes, I've tried it. Jackie leaned on the counter. Look, I've been very patient. I've adapted. I've learned things about the female experience that I never wanted to know. Did you know that women's jeans are sized by arbitrary numbers that change depending on the brand, the cut, the phase of the moon, and apparently the manufacturer's mood that day? Because I do now. Intimately. The shopkeeper's smile didn't waver. The amulet shows us what we need to see. I needed to see the inside of a Victoria's Secret? Jackie cut him off. Because that's what happened last week. Very enlightening. Also expensive. Also, the saleswoman was weirdly aggressive about matching sets. Perhaps you're meant to remain as you are. Jackie's eye twitched. No, absolutely not. I have a life to get back to. A male life. With male pronouns and a prostate and the ability to pee standing up without creating a complicated geometrical engineering problem. And yet, you seem to be managing well enough. Managing? I'm a software engineer who had to explain to HR that Jack Harrison and Jackie Harrison are the same person due to a medical condition. Do you know how many forms that required? Do you know how many awkward conversations I've had? The shopkeeper pulled out a dusty ledger. Let me check my records. Your records, your records. Jackie's voice climbed an octave. I don't need records, I need the reversal spell, the undo button, the Control-Z of magical transformations. Ah yes, here it is. The old man squinted at the page. Jade Amulet of Transformation, sold 6 months ago. Side effects may include gender swap, temporary confusion, and, he paused, oh my. Oh my what? It seems the transformation becomes permanent after 6 months unless reversed. Jackie stared at him. What? Yes, it's right here in the fine print. What fine print? There was no fine print, there was barely a regular print. Jackie grabbed the counter. Are you telling me I'm stuck like this, permanently? The shopkeeper had the audacity to look apologetic. I'm afraid the window for reversal closed at midnight last night. Last night. Jackie's hands flew to her face. I was at a bar last night. Some guy tried to buy me a drink and explain cryptocurrency to me. That's what I was doing when my reversal window closed. Did you accept the drink? That's not the point. The shopkeeper closed his ledger with a soft thump. Perhaps this is fate's way of. Don't, Jackie held up a hand. Don't you dare finish that sentence with anything about destiny or finding myself or life lessons. This isn't a journey of self-discovery. This is a customer service disaster. I'm very sorry, but there's nothing I can do. Jackie stood there, processing this information with the kind of calm that precedes a thermonuclear meltdown. Then she started laughing, hysterically, the kind of laugh that makes strangers cross the street. You know what? Fine, fine. She threw her hands up. I've been a woman for 6 months. I've figured out eyeliner, sort of. I've learned that period cramps are nature's way of saying, screw you in particular. I've discovered that men will explain my own job to me even though I have twice their experience. I've mastered the art of the fake smile when someone asks if I'm technical, even though I literally wrote the code base they're using. It sounds like you've adapted admirably. I've also learned, Jackie continued, on a roll now, that women's bathrooms have couches for some reason. Couches? In the bathroom? Do you know how much I would have killed for a bathroom couch in my male life? But no, we got broken hand dryers and motivational posters about washing hands. The shopkeeper nodded sympathetically. And don't even get me started on the temperature conspiracy. Every office building is climate-controlled for the comfort of men in suits, which means I'm perpetually freezing in my business casual, because apparently women's professional clothes are made from tissue paper and hope. Perhaps. I'm not done, Jackie was pacing now. Dating, as a woman, do you know what it's like out there? Do you? I went on 3 dates last month. 3. One guy showed me his cryptocurrency portfolio. Another spent 45 minutes explaining Bitcoin. The third one, also crypto, is that all men talk about now. Did I do that? Was I that guy? I couldn't say. And the Instagram messages, the LinkedIn messages that aren't about jobs, the random DMs from guys whose profile pictures are cars or fish they caught. Jackie was gesticulating wildly now. I had to make my profile picture a lamp, and I still got messages asking if the lamp was single. The shopkeeper wisely remained silent. Jackie stopped pacing and took a deep breath. Okay, I'm calm now. Are you certain? No, I'm not certain, but I'm going to pretend I am because the alternative is burning down this shop, and I've learned that women are expected to be emotionally mature about these things. She ran her hands through her hair, still that ridiculous auburn that somehow looked amazing no matter what she did to it. So I'm stuck. Forever, as Jackie. I'm truly sorry. Save it. Jackie headed for the door, then turned back. You know what the worst part is? I'm actually getting used to it. I had coffee with my ex-girlfriend Sarah last week, as friends, and we actually had a good conversation about what assholes men can be. We bonded. I bonded with my ex over shared experiences of dealing with creepy dudes. That's my life now. Silver lining, the shopkeeper offered weakly. Silver lining is that I finally understand why she dumped me. Apparently, I was a mansplainer. Jackie made air quotes again. Who knew? Well, Sarah knew. Sarah definitely knew. She made a list. She brought a list to coffee. It was laminated. She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the handle. For what it's worth, the shopkeeper called out, you make a lovely woman. Jackie turned back with a sardonic smile. Yeah, well, I made a mediocre man, so at least I'm moving up in the world. Will you be all right? Do I have a choice? Jackie shrugged. I'll survive. I survived finding out that one size fits all is a lie. I survived discovering that pockets in women's clothes are decorative. I survived my first period barely. I can survive this. That's very brave. It's not brave, it's necessity. Brave would be volunteering for this nightmare. She opened the door, letting in the street noise. But hey, at least I've got one thing going for me. What's that? I finally understand women. Took becoming one, but I got there. She grinned. Mike's getting divorced, by the way, lasted 4 months. I could have told him it wouldn't work, but he didn't ask. Men never ask. And you, any romantic prospects? Jackie laughed, a genuine sound this time. Are you kidding? I'm a woman in tech who can actually explain what she does without using buzzwords. I'm basically a unicorn. I've had 3 job offers this month alone, all from companies desperate to improve their diversity numbers. Turns out being a woman in software engineering is like having a cheat code for recruiters. So you're doing well. I'm doing weird, there's a difference. Jackie stepped out into the sunlight. Oh, and if you sell any more magical artifacts, maybe include an instruction manual and a customer service hotline, and possibly a lawyer. Duly noted. Jackie walked down 4th Street, past the vape shop and the knockoff handbag store, pulling out her phone. She had 17 unread messages. 12 were LinkedIn recruiters. 3 were from her mom asking when she was going to settle down with a nice young man. Still processing that conversation. 1 was from Mike complaining about his divorce lawyer, and 1 was from Sarah. Sarah's message read, "Coffee next week. I'm dating someone new and need a female perspective on whether he's trash." Jackie typed back, "Is he into crypto?" Sarah, "How did you know?" Jackie, "Lucky guess he's trash. Coffee sounds good though." She pocketed her phone, wedged it into the completely useless excuse for a pocket that women's jeans designers thought was acceptable, and headed toward her apartment. 6 months ago, she'd been Jack Harrison, mediocre software engineer with a mountain of student debt and a tendency to explain things nobody asked about. Now she was Jackie Harrison, slightly above average software engineer with the same mountain of debt, but with dramatically better hair and a newfound understanding of why the gender pay gap was more than just a statistic. Was it what she'd wanted? Hell no. Was it what she'd expected when she bought that stupid amulet? Absolutely not. Was she going to survive? Obviously. She'd survived learning to walk in heels for that one conference where she'd felt obligated to look professional. A disaster involving 3 twisted ankles and a bruised ego. She'd survived her first trip to a gynecologist, which had been exactly as horrible as every woman had ever described and worse. She'd survived explaining to her bewildered father that yes, this was really happening, and no, it wasn't a phase. She could survive being permanently female. Probably. Maybe. Okay, definitely, but she wasn't going to be happy about it. Her phone buzzed again. Another LinkedIn recruiter. "I saw your profile and think you'd be perfect for our senior engineering role. We're very committed to workplace diversity." Jackie sighed and typed back her standard response. "I'm interested. Also, I assume this role pays the same as you'd offer a male candidate with identical experience." The recruiter's typing indicator appeared, then disappeared, then appeared again. Finally, "I'll have to check with the hiring manager." "Thought so," Jackie muttered, pocketing her phone again. She passed her reflection in a shop window and barely recognized herself anymore, which was either progress or concerning. She hadn't decided which. The woman looking back was confident, well-dressed in dark jeans that actually fit after only 2 months of trial and error, and wearing a leather jacket that she'd bought specifically because it had real pockets. Real pockets. It had cost $300. Worth it. "Well, Jackie," she said to her reflection, "this is your life now. Might as well make the best of it." The woman in the window smiled back, and for just a moment, Jackie could almost forget she'd ever been anyone else. Almost. Her phone buzzed one more time. "Mike, dude, you need to meet Sarah's new boyfriend. Total crypto bro, we should warn her." Jackie typed back, already on it, "Also stop calling me dude." "Mike, sorry, old habit. You're still coming to poker night though, right?" "Jackie, only if you promise not to explain the rules to me again. I've been playing poker since college. Being female didn't erase my memory." "Mike, did I do that last time?" "Jackie, you did that every time. You also explained how to use a bottle opener, how to drive a stick shift, and how my own code worked." "Mike, shit, I'm the worst." "Jackie, you're learning. That's progress." She turned away from her reflection and headed home, where her apartment waited, full of clothes in 2 different sizes, a bathroom cabinet that had somehow accumulated 17 different types of moisturizer. How did that happen? And one very annoying jade amulet that she kept in a drawer, specifically, so she could glare at it whenever she needed to feel justified in her irritation. Was this the life she'd planned? No. Was this the life she was stuck with? Apparently. Was she going to make it work? Well, she'd managed to debug a legacy codebase written by someone who thought comments where optional and variable names should be single letters. She'd survived that. She could survive anything. Even permanent womanhood. Probably with better hair than she'd ever had as a man, which was either cosmic justice or cosmic irony. Jackie decided not to think too hard about which.